And tonight we're live. We're back. This is our first show back for taking 2 weeks off. And tonight we're talking with crew from U.S. Paranormal. How you doing this evening?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess it is evening. Even though the sun's out.
Close enough.
So, it's been a while since we talked to you. What have you guys been up to?
Life, obviously, like everybody else. Life has a way of beating you up and keeping you busy. But overall, we've been busy doing some investigations. We taught a paranormal class recently.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we've been up to.
So, when you do your paranormal class, what do you teach?
We tried to do the basics. These two ladies right here that have joined us were very helpful in it. As far as getting the syllabus going and getting some information on it. Not really my strong point with PowerPoint or computers in general, as they both know. They make fun of me a lot, but that's okay. So they were able to help me put together a really good class. I think we were there for about 3 hours. And did a whole, kind of the basics of, what to look for, what not to do kind of things. And then we wrapped up the night with a 2-part investigation and a couple of the local buildings that were willing to help us out and give them a little hands-on experience with some of their new gadgets. And I think overall it went really well.
That's pretty cool. What kind of new gadgets you got?
So we gave them as part of their fee with the class order, an audio recorder and a small millimeter that we found. Amazon's an amazing place. If they don't have it, it doesn't exist.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so we included that in the class, and like I said, let them kind of put it to the test and let them use it and use some of our equipment, obviously REM pods and things like that.
Right.
And kind of give them a firsthand experience of it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm out in Waterloo now, so I moved from where I was in Fort. I actually got a house that's it was built in 1900, so it's like 124 years old this year. And I'm happy to say I believe there is activity in it.
Nice.
I was just going to ask if it's haunted. Do you need anyone to come investigate it for you?
Well, we do have a lot of equipment. It's a nice little 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I've got a pretty good sized living room and a stairwell that comes up to the upstairs. And before my girlfriend started putting these night light smell things, around.
Sure.
At the top landing, before you turn to take 3 steps up to the main part where the bathroom is.
Guy. Hey,
Jesse. Jesse.
I forgot to send a link to him. I'm sorry, Jesse. It's been a hectic week and a hectic couple of weeks trying to get the 2 new podcasts started and all the graphics and everything done for him.
So,
that's all good.
But anyway, right around that little section landing, smell perfume, and it's not modern day type perfume. It's like that Avon old type perfume that you smell.
Didn't you say it smelled like your grandma or something?
It smelled like the kind of perfume my mom would get from Avon.
That's what it was, your mom.
Yeah, the old Avon sales. Yeah.
I know exactly that smell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Freddie, are you old enough to know those?
Yeah. Yep. I know
that's
the smell.
Exactly what it smells like. Right after we moved in here, I actually I got woken up by what sounded like a man talking out at the doorway of my bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up the stairs and was coming into. This is the smallest of the bedrooms, so I turned it into an office room for me. And I was coming. It came right up the stairs, and I was coming in here, and I could hear what sounded like something scratching the wall in the main hall out there. At that point, you'd be sitting on my couch. You look off towards the dining room at night. We have a like a night light in there, so you can see how to get around, and you can see what looked like figures walking past in the dining room, walking back and forth.
Nice. I get the occasional visitors in my house, but it's not old. I think they're just tagging along for a ride now and then.
I think so. Well, some of them could be as well because of the kind of history I've got from my past. I got involved in this back when I was like 14. So.
Do you think it's somebody that you know or something that's tagged along with you from an investigation or?
Nope. I think what is here, because I didn't experience any of this when I lived in Fort Atkinson, I think what I'm experiencing is attached either to the land or to this house. Because I don't have any items that because of not experiencing anything in Fort Atkinson, I don't have any of that following me here. So all the items are from there. So it's got to either be the house or the land itself. So
have you dug into the history at all of the house?
Our house, this house, the neighbor's house to the west of me, or east of me. My house, the neighbor's house to the east of me, and then kitty corner, kind of northeast, is the third house, and all three of them were built by the same gentleman who was a doctor. He had all three houses built on, I think it was at the exact same year, and it was one for him, and the other two were for his. I guess is what the information is that I got. So yeah, I've already looked into a few things.
Ask for a doctor.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not sure if he did any kind of if this was the doctor's house that I'm in, or if it was one of the children. But I'd have to do a little deeper dive into it to see.
Well, that's where that historical society can help out too. So.
Yep. And Waterloo may be a smaller village, but it is a lot of history here as well. Like I said, we're about 20 miles west of Watertown, where Joe's at, and I'm about it's about a 30-minute drive for me into Madison. So it's kind of.
I think Freddie, you're a lot closer to Madison than I am. So
Yeah, I used to live in Columbus, so I'm kind of familiar with that area.
I know where Columbus is.
Yeah,
I'm
West
Highway
Bend.
Highway 73, 89, they all run that runs through there, and the 151 runs next to it.
Yep.
My cousin had his auto shop in Columbus.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And his partner moved it to Fitchburg.
Okay. Yeah, we were only there for maybe 3 years, and then we moved towards West Bend. So, but cool area. Lots of fun stuff around there.
Yeah, you went and moved closer to the Milwaukee area.
Yep.
The bigger area, the bigger suburb.
Well, I'm actually in Kewaskum, so it's a tiny town just north of West Bend. But we've got lots of Native American history, obviously, with the name Kewaskum. Lots of burial mounds and things. Lots of strange happenings. We have a goat man in the area.
You got goat man sightings there?
We do. Yeah, we're about a half hour north of Holy Hill.
Yep.
There's a lot of goat man sightings around there, but there's also one right in Kewaskum.
Wow.
And it was several years ago, there was a hunter up in a tree stand right outside of town, and watched a half man, half goat walk underneath his tree stand. And supposedly he had a very foul mouth and was very angry that there were people hunting on his land. So that's the local legend in Kewaskum.
Wow.
I'm just going to throw this out there, but not much of a hunter.
So basically, you're telling me that he encountered a pan that lived up to its name.
Yeah, well, it was kind of an interesting encounter because the description of him was the entire body of a goat. It walked on 4 legs, but then had the head of a man. So a little bit different.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is different.
Yeah, different than the typical pan type sighting, but
Right now.
kind of cool.
Yeah, because most of the goatmen sightings that I've read about and seen stuff about, they look like pan.
Yeah.
Pan is the lower body goat, upper body man, plays that little air flute.
No
Pan flute, if you will. In all fairness, one of our investigators, Anthony's, he's pan. I'm pretty sure.
So he can impersonate Goatman pretty well.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Brian gave him a flute for Christmas. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, he runs around the woods swearing and playing the pan flute. I don't know. But I hear he's a soft-hoofed animal, so whatever.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So Freddie, being that you're up in this area and stuff, I take it you've heard of the Beast of Bray Road then?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Mark, don't you remember? Oh, wait a minute. Mark.
Yes, I remember where we met them at, so hush.
Right. We actually met some of the U.S. paranormal team out there in Whitewater.
Whitewater. Mm-hmm. They were doing the Witches of Whitewater.
Yep.
Yes, I was one of those tours.
That's how I met the team.
Yes, that's how we met Jen.
We found Jen that way. Doing the spirit tour.
Oh, that's cool. That is very cool. Yeah, no, we did the Beast of Bray Road. We actually, Joe and I did some investigating out at one of the properties out there.
Yeah, we've been out there.
We had the fortune of doing it.
And did you?
I know one of the gentlemen that owns one of the properties, and he was on a few of the TV shows with all of his pictures.
Yeah,
the
same guy.
Is his name Gene? I think.
Oh no, one we know is Lee.
He was a high school teacher in Wakanda, and now he owns property up there, and he's on a lot of those shows.
Yeah, it was Lee Hample.
He's a math professor.
He was a math professor or a math teacher. Yeah.
Yep.
He owns like 34 acres that he farms hay off of.
Yep. For his horses back in Illinois.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he brings it to Anthony too. So.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Oh, he's awesome. He is very awesome.
Yeah, I was at a 4th of July party with him, and he was showing me all of his pictures of his mutilated cows.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah.
here's my mutilated cow.
Well, I know this much about him. He's got like 7 different trail cams that he rotates out on his property, and he's got close to 300,000 photos, Joe?
I don't know, but some of them are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time we went to his property, we spent at least 8 hours just sitting there talking to him and listening
to be at least 8 hours.
The property with him on his ATVs.
Yeah, it had to be at least 8 hours just chatting with him.
I know the footage is at least that much. So from that first day.
So how about Grafton? You ever been up there?
I haven't really done a lot in Grafton, to be honest. No. We've done mostly, our team is based out of Antioch, Illinois. So I'm the most northern of the teammates. So we tend to do stuff a little bit more south, but we've done some local places recently. We actually had one last night. It's a private investigation, but we're all still a little sleep deprived today.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was a rough morning.
Yeah. The snow did not help.
No. We actually did a place called Beers and Cheers over in Helenville, 2 years ago?
I don't know
that was before me.
Yeah, it's over in Helenville, very cool place. And actually this past summer, just talking about cool places, we got the opportunity to go to a abandoned Titan II missile silo and investigate that.
That's even better.
Yeah. So myself, Anthony, Tony, and Andy went out there, and we, strangely enough, I saw it on Instagram. It's a site called Nuclear Bunker Living. I've always been kind of intrigued by missile silos, just growing up. And he posted that he was looking for somebody to come out and investigate his silo because he thinks that stuff was going on there. And so I responded, and I was like, he's never going to answer. And literally, I think it was 15 minutes after I messaged him with my phone number, my phone rang, and his name is Nick, and he's Australian, and he's completely out of his mind. And I think I spent almost 2 hours on the phone with him at that call, just asking questions to, about how we are, what we do, how we vet our evidence, that type of stuff. And but 3 weeks later, he called me back. He's like, yeah, I want you guys to come out and investigate my place. And then he says, we'll do a whole, thing. We'll put it on our YouTube channel, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, I just want you to know that I picked you out of 85 applicants. I'm like,
holy crap.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
And his comment to me when I asked him, I said, so why'd you pick us? He goes, because you were the most normal. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, good luck with that this week. But yeah, that was his comment to us. But that aside, I will say the investigation was unbelievable. It's eerie being 80 feet underground in something that's been underwater for 60 years and has just been drained out. And that several people died there. There's history, it's documented. Especially knowing what that place was designed to do in the 60s.
Yep.
And yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you're literally in the middle of nowhere in Colorado, in Bennett, Colorado. And we caught some good stuff, witnessed a lot of really cool things that I can't explain. Yeah, just a really cool feeling, but literally there's 1,001 ways to die underground there.
No, I'm sure.
So if the lights ever went out and you got trapped, you're doomed. That's what it boils down to. 154,000 square feet underground.
Wow.
Yeah.
154,000.
And all kinds of little tunnels
area.
And tubes connecting everything. So
that's a lot of area.
Yeah, we only got about 60% of it covered. So
wow.
And that was 5 days every day investigating for literally 8 hours a day.
Wow.
So
that's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But one of the cooler places we've been.
That is pretty cool. That is really cool, actually. I think that would be fun to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, who gets to do that? That's literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. Just be picked to go investigate a Titan II missile silo 80 feet underground.
Yeah.
With no restrictions, it's just like, okay, have fun, do what you do, and let's record everything and film it, and
here you go.
Yeah. So very cool.
Brian, can you touch on some of the stuff that you experienced when you were there?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, we had stuff thrown at us, like little chunks of rusted metal and stuff got thrown at us. We heard whistling when we were doing. It's on the video. It's actually under Nuclear Bunker Living on the YouTube channel, and you'll hear me. We're talking to Nick. He's talking, and we're talking back and forth, and you hear a whistle in the background, and we all heard it. And it's not a bird. It's not. We couldn't find a bird, anything like that. and you could hear water splashing because a lot of it's still flooded in areas, and you could hear water and splashing, and then like how the ripple sound when they hit the side of like cement or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But we're looking at the water, and it's still and clear as glass. It's not moving, but you could hear the water moving and dripping.
Wow.
Like something was being thrown in it. We had the power cord. They had them on these like J hooks all over the walls because the place is just lined with extension cords. And as I came around the corner, one of them just flipped up off the J hook and got tossed at me.
Cool.
Yeah. Just some bizarre things happened down there. And we got a couple good pieces of audio out of it, but yeah, it was a crazy week. Definitely.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it was kind of crazy. It sounds like something that I'd absolutely love to do and have fun doing.
Yeah, and like what Freddie was saying too. You think about the energy that's imparted in something like that. You're talking about guys that were 19 years old that had the power to destroy the world, and they didn't have a fail-safe system. Like the old movies, they show the two keys, same time. That your fail-safe was there was one key, and your fail-safe was the guy standing next to you with a loaded 45. If you didn't follow your orders, he capped you and he did the key himself. That was the fail-safe.
Wow.
And to hear the way that several service members died there was unbelievable. So the blast doors that go over the silos, they're 374 tons each. They had them up in the air, and the hydraulics went out and fell over and like flattened 3 guys. Just fell over. Another gentleman used to have this spiral staircase that went down, and it had I forget what they call the metal doors that spin around. It's like a capture area.
Okay.
And there was a light beam activated, and he slipped at the bottom step and fell. His head broke the light beam as he went through the door, and the door came around and decapitated him.
Ouch. Oh, wow.
Yeah, just, horrific ways to die. The missile tubes are 188 feet or 288 feet into the ground. And I guess a board got knocked off on the top, and the guy yelled, "Watch out." And of course, as humans, we look up, and he took the board right in the face at the bottom, Yeah. So documented deaths, very cool. A lot of things happened. Yeah, I'd love to go back, but it's a bit of a drive. So
just a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's not too bad.
Yeah. But we try to make a team adventure every year. We didn't get anything out last year, or I shouldn't say last year. Last year? Yeah, last year. We went to Colorado. This year, we're going to historic Scott County Jail in Huntsville, Tennessee.
Brenda Young and Dr. Sumner's place.
Mm-hmm. So we're doing that.
Yeah, those two are pretty cool too. And I'm glad to see that they went and grabbed that up to preserve it as well.
Yeah, we're also trying to Brushy County State Penitentiary.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to book that one while we're down there too. So,
Joe, was that the one that Miranda stayed the night in by herself?
Yeah, in solitary
Brushy's.
Yeah, in a solitary confinement cell.
Seems like a horrible idea.
Yeah, she's pretty ballsy.
Well, she rides that Harley from place to place all by herself, pretty much.
Big deal. A lot of people ride a Harley, Joe.
But I'm saying that's how she goes from her paranormal investigations. That's pretty cool. Riding that Harley from one location to another location.
Well, Joe, I got to be honest. As a man of 6'9" and 300 pounds, I look ridiculous on a motorcycle. So.
Like a bear on a tricycle.
Yes.
Taking a picture of.
It literally.
That's only if the motorcycle is not designed for you.
Well, it literally looks like something stuck to my pants. I mean, it's not good. It's not a thing. But
even the baggers, Brian.
What's it?
Even the baggers?
Even the baggers. Those? I look ridiculous on them. Yeah. Like Freddie said, a bear on a tricycle. Yes.
Yeah. So you've never, Brian, you've never got on a classic trike?
No, not a trike. I've ridden a motorcycle, but not a trike. No.
See, for a man your size, your height and everything, I bet the classic. Now, I'd say classics because these are a hybrid of a Volkswagen and a Harley frame or a bike frame.
Yeah.
Now.
A classic trike like that, I think you look pretty good on it.
Yeah, but I can't get in a Volkswagen either. So.
But
the Volkswagen's cut in half.
Yeah, it's the nice. Back end of the Volkswagen. It's all open.
Give you some leg room.
It's the classic trike. It was designed for cruising for long distances and big guys.
Well, you talked about she's ballsy, as it were, staying the night in the solitary confinement. I will tell you that these two ladies that are pictured right down here on the screen are small, but they're a force to be reckoned with themselves. So,
good.
Especially the little blonde.
It is good to be that way though. Whenever it comes to investigating,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's literally two, and that's either the flight or the. Did I cut out?
Yeah, a little bit.
I hear you.
There's two responses people have. It's either flight or fight.
Right.
And
parasympathetic.
And the best one to have when you're a paranormal investigator is the fight. But there have been so many of them, talk a big game. I've seen them do this. Talk a big game when there's nothing going on. As soon as something happens, gone. They're done.
Yeah.
That reminds me, we were in investigation at a church and something happened, and one investigator that we were investigating had turned and jumped into Anthony's arms. Anthony's like 6'7". He's a big guy too. And this little guy turned and jumped right up in his arms, and I just hear Anthony in the dark go, "What kind of investigator are you?"
Sounds like a Scooby-Doo episode.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went full Scooby on him. I was like,
Well, I don't know if you guys heard the story about Brian in Waverly Hills. Have you guys heard that one yet?
No, probably not.
Okay, so I'll let Brian tell the story.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we were investigating Waverly Hills. It was June of 2020.
Yep.
And we were in a hospital room where someone on a previous investigation had been pulled by the back of the shirt and was yanked against a wall. And as we're listening to this story, I look over at Brian and he's kind of squatting down on the floor. We didn't want to sit on the floor because asbestos. And
place was filthy.
I watch him stand up and he's kind of wincing and I'm like, oh, maybe his knee's going or something. And he goes, you guys, my back is burning. And I'm like, really? So we lifted up the back of his shirt and sure enough, he had fresh fingernail scratches across his back. And so we're all sitting around talking, trying to debunk it. Were you leaning against something? Did you brush against something? And he said, no, you were watching me the whole time. I was just sitting in the middle of a room. And so as we're talking, we start feeling the static kind of build in the room. You could feel that energy, and pretty soon he goes, you guys, now my neck is burning. And of course, he's much taller than I am. I'm 5'5". So he bends all the way down, and sure enough, fresh fingernail scratches right across his neck. And we're all starting to get really excited. And before you know it, he's got fingernail scratches across his forearm, more on his neck. He was getting beat up. And our millimeters were going off. And it was an insane moment. I felt like somebody had taken a balloon and just rubbed it against my arm. Like all my hair on my arm stood up. And so at that point, Brian said, obviously something doesn't want me here. I'm going to step in the hallway. And I'm like, I'm going with you. Right? And so we step into the hallway. And if you're familiar with Waverly Hills, the way it's set up is there's, a long hallway, long corridor, and there's hospital rooms on one side, hospital rooms on the other side. And then on the furthest outside piece is a really big open patio for all the fresh air for tuberculosis. And so my back is turned to an empty hospital room with an empty window, and I start feeling my hair go up like this, and I start freaking out. And pretty soon Brian says, Freddie, are you looking down the hallway? Do you see that? And we peered on the hallway and we just start seeing shadow figures peeking in and out of rooms and popping up in doorways. And when I tell that story, a lot of people ask me, well, what'd you do? Did you run away? And I always tell them, like, where am I going to go? You know?
Right.
So I feel like I would probably run if I was brave enough, but where are you going to go in a dark, scary, haunted hospital? Nowhere.
Right.
Next to the big guy.
I mean, even at the far end of the hall, you could see the figures walking back and forth the hallway between the doors.
Room to room. Yeah.
And it's clear as day. You could see human figures in the walk and the gait. I mean, the legs. It was like, this is crazy.
I think if you was to put me in a situation like that, I wouldn't run. I would walk toward them.
You know, I would agree, but unfortunately, in my experience, every time we do that, they disappear.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
What happened?
Or they run further down the hallway.
Right.
Yeah. Where I'm originally from in California, the little town that my dad was a rural carrier of. There's to the south as you're starting to leave town before you get right when you get to the bridge that crosses the river. There's a turnoff that you can go down into what is called Kingston Park.
Mm-hmm.
Something with my internet. My internet's been weird lately, and it's all Spectrum internet, and I hate them. My area out here sucks for the receptions. So anyway, we used to go down there and hang out all the time, and we'd go down there at 10, 11 o'clock at night and be there until 3 in the morning. Well, that particular park is notorious for shadow figures. And we go down there and we'd be hanging out doing our thing, and you could see in the distance just shadow figures running between trees. And the cool thing was the trees, you know how big a person is, the trees were only about that big around, and they would literally just disappear completely behind the trees.
Right. We saw that in Gettysburg, remember?
And then the coolest part though, there's one of them that was white, not black. It was white, and it was literally in and out behind one of those little trees like that. It looked like peer out and look at you, and then it duck back in.
Yeah, we saw something similar to that in Gettysburg. We wound up in an area which was the Confederate medical camp.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see a man on a horse, full shadow, riding through the woods. It just
awesome.
In the middle of the trees. So it was like, oh, okay, that's happening. You know, one of those moments. Yeah.
I love Gettysburg.
I don't know if you've been to Gettysburg either. You know, any of you?
Not yet.
No.
It is one of those places that we didn't do a lot of really investigating. It was more about the history. And I will tell you that if you're not moved there, you have no soul. It's that simple. It is an overwhelming place, very emotional, even just as a visitor, and who, you know, obviously you didn't fight there, but you can feel just that energy. Yeah, you can feel it on the battlegrounds, and it's overwhelming.
I've never gotten the chance to go there. The closest I've been is Fredericks, Maryland, and that's where one of our facilities is located. And I actually went out. October last year. I went out and spent 3 days out there helping them before, you know. So then I wound up doing a route out of Fredericks going all the way to Norfolk, Virginia, and back, and then up a little further north of Fredericks, and then back in. So, but yeah, I really wanted to, but I didn't have the opportunity or chance to even go near any of that stuff.
Right.
We visited Battle of Antietam, and we went to Harper's Ferry, and those are really cool places too.
Oh yeah, Savannah, Vicksburg, those are all great places as well. Savannah, Georgia is just a giant cemetery. Let's call it what it is. There's thousands of people buried under the street there. So,
yeah.
But Emmitsburg is very cool. Antietam is very cool.
I think one of the places that I would actually like to go is Lafayette Cemetery down in Louisiana.
I was there recently.
Tell us about it.
It's hot.
Excuse me 1 second. I just got a text message. I have to go. I apologize. Ladies, will you carry on?
Sure.
I got to go to work. So.
All right.
Okay.
I apologize.
Right,
So good to talk to you. I apologize, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
All right.
Yep.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Sorry, guys. Brian is a volunteer firefighter, so once in a while he'll get
Nope,
an emergency call.
That's quite all right. I understand. So
Go ahead, Jen. Tell us about.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we went down there, we went the beginning of June, and it was so hot. But what was interesting is how they have their, sorry, that would be my dog, how they have their memorials. Stop. How they have their memorials. I'm going to just walk him out while I talk to you. So because it's so hot, what they do is they put the body in the, well, everything, they flood. So the bodies flood a lot. So they have to have everything raised up high. So they were telling us that one of the things that's raised up high, you can only bury a family member in there every 365 days.
Wow.
So if someone else dies in the family, they have to wait. And because it's so hot in there that the body just completely dissolves after a year. So then it's just the bones. So then they kind of pull out the slab that they're on, and the bones fall to the bottom, and then they could put someone else in there.
wow.
So it was pretty interesting. But like I said, it's so hot. I think they were saying it gets up to 300 and something degrees in one of those mausoleums.
So basically they're baking the people.
Yeah, make and bake oven, pretty much. So it was pretty interesting. A lot of old stones. We weren't able to see where Marie Laveau was at. Some of these cemeteries are private or under construction, so we got to go to the tours that they have you go to. They don't tell you that it's in a very dangerous neighborhood. So we ended up taking a shuttle bus tour instead of just the cemetery tours because it was not a safe situation.
Right.
But
right.
the architecture and everything is beautiful. It's beautiful there. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Another cemetery that would really be cool to visit, which I'm not sure if they have it open to the public. It's not in the United States. It's over in France. It's basically the one that most of the Louisiana cemeteries down there in New Orleans is modeled after. And I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it right off. But I know that one over there supposedly has catacombs.
That would be
and that you'd be able to, that you're supposed to be able to go in to the catacombs as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, that'd be freaky.
I would do it. I'd love to do it. I think it'd be cool.
What you're talking about now, and I've seen pictures of that place, and you got skulls and bones on the walls as you walk through these very narrow passageways. Yeah. And it's like,
and I definitely would do it.
That'd be freaky, though.
That's how I spend my vacations. My husband and I go to a historical haunted hotel, and then it's all these locations that are of interest. So we did Salem 2 years ago, and then last summer we did New Orleans. We've gone to the Stanley. Deadwood is really an interesting place. I don't know if anyone's ever been there, or if you guys are writers and you've gone up there for Sturgis, but that is definitely an interesting town, and the whole area is haunted.
Which one, Janet? The Stanley? Janet's asking if that's the one that Morrison is at.
Oh, the Stanley Hotel? Stanley Hotel is where they base The Shining off of.
Yeah, the Stanley's the one that they base The Shining off of. That's the one
The
that's
cemetery
supposed to
in
be.
France that you were talking.
Oh, the cemetery. Yeah, I'm not certain on that, Janet. I'm not certain on that. But yeah, the Stanley Hotel is the one isn't that up in Colorado?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, and actually, I used to live in Colorado for a little bit. It's in Estes Park,
Estes
Colorado.
Park. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Brian and I actually investigated there. We did the carriage house and underneath the Stanley, and it was okay. I had higher hopes. I'm a big Stephen King fan. So was Brian. We had a couple little things happen. I think we heard a growl. Had some responses with flashlights, in response to questions and things like that. But overall, it was kind of a dud, which was kind of too bad.
Disappointing.
Bummer.
But they got Bloody Marys there. So if you ever go to the bar, you can pretend, that you're Jack Nicholson talking to the bartender or Bloody Mary because they're delicious.
Hello.
They also I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's a town just outside of Estes Park called Nederland. Have you guys heard of Frozen Dead Guy Days?
No.
They have, so once a year, I don't know if they're still doing it, but there's a story about a family that tried to cryogenically freeze their father, but they didn't have the funds to do it. So they kept him on dry ice in a shed for many decades. I don't want to say a number because I don't really know. But eventually they found the body and it became kind of a town joke. And so now every year they host Frozen Dead Guy Days, and they just do all sorts of really weird like festival type stuff. Like they sled down the hill and on mannequins or so. I don't know. Crazy
mannequins. That would be scary.
I think it's usually in March, and it's a big tourist attraction in Nederland.
Wow.
Freddie, I know you've been to Salem. Has anyone else been to Salem before?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I really loved the cemetery there. I thought that was a Charter Street Cemetery. It's just so amazing, the history and how old the stones are. And they were telling us, I took a historical tour, that they kept the slate, and if you had to pay a rent to stay there in the ground, and if your family could no longer afford it, they would erase your name off the slate and then put someone else's on there, or they would just cross it out and then put the next person. But that's why you see so many of those headstones with different last names, because it's not family. They just couldn't pay for it anymore. So then they just put other people in there.
Wow.
What a way to make money.
Right?
That's crazy.
Make
rent
are so place cool, that you're going to be buried when you pass. Now you got to rent it. Your family going to continue paying rent for your ass. That's pathetic.
It's a big middle finger to the family,
Well, to me, if you want to talk about a haunting, there's a good reason right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. That's nuts. Hear that.
I've heard something like that before. I must have heard stories about that place. I watched so many documentaries and stuff. You can't keep track of them all after a while.
They all kind of tend to blend together.
Yes. Especially in my old age.
Yeah, a lot of the stories are the same though. That's the thing.
Well, and then people wonder why we believe in this kind of stuff. It's like, there's stories all over the world about it. How can you not?
Exactly. There are stories. There are stories overseas in European countries that will match up to stories here.
Well, yeah, and look how many cemeteries have a Mary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Resurrection Mary.
Yeah. Oh, I had an interesting experience with that once. I grew up with all that stuff because my dad was into it. So we used to do family ghost tours. Yeah. And we were at Archer Cemetery, and it was a day like this. It was snowing, it was cold, and my dad was trying to locate her, and we were in the older section of the cemetery, and we were all chewing Big Red gum. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but how spicy and yeah, and it we had Big Red gum. The heat was on, and we just smelled fresh roses out of the blue, like in our car, and couldn't find roses anywhere.
Wow.
So that was pretty. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, kind of like walking up my stairs here and having that perfume, and nobody in the house wears it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We just had an incident a couple weeks ago. We were actually investigating a relative of Brian's, and he ended up seeing a full body apparition of the woman. It was the girlfriend of the family member that had passed, and he called me into the room, and we both started smelling a fresh woman's perfume. And this family member was a male and lived alone. So unless he's doing, some female type behaviors, which
unless he's doing some of that strange,
right,
yeah, doing some strange things.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it was pretty amazing. I mean, he was walking down a hallway and turned to look in the room, and there she was, just standing there, like, I'm looking at you guys right now. And he called me down the hallway, as in the living room, and I walked in. I immediately got super nauseous, started to feel like I was going to pass out. I had to sit down. And then we both started smelling that fresh perfume. And it's like, wow, this is something here, And then later on for that investigation, we were doing the Estes method and proceeded to have a 45-minute conversation back and forth with something. And the answers were on point for every single one. It was the most amazing conversation I've ever had on the Estes, using the Estes method. And if people aren't familiar, it's I don't know how much you guys talk about it on here, but you basically use a spirit box, which it scans through radio stations. Yeah. And the person wears headphones, and the other person will ask the questions, and the person wearing the headphones can hear the responses through the headphones. So Brian was wearing the headphones, and I was asking the questions, and it was just one after another. It was amazing. It was amazing. So
it's pretty cool where you can get that kind of.
Well, what do you call this? I'm sitting here now. I know for a fact the history of the place that we bought. The person that owned it basically passed away in bed. Okay. His name was Bernie. Okay. He was my wife. Well, we bought the place from my wife's aunt, and her husband, it was his father's place. So every now and then you used to be able to go out and you could tell it, you could smell the fish smell, because out on the porch, he'd cut up fresh fish that he caught in the pond, as Mark calls it, across the way.
It is a pond.
Whatever. But anyway, I'm sitting here today, for example. I was sitting here all by myself today. Everything's quiet. No TV on outside. Dog was out in the living room. Dog was outside. Okay. So she couldn't set anything off. My dog is very vocal. She's a Siberian Husky.
I was about to say, did you hear mine earlier? I have a Malamute.
I gotta tell you, she's got one similar.
That's why I was selling him. It's not mine.
Yeah, it's mine.
So I'm sitting here, and now I've got one sitting right here. Those little Google Home devices, I've got one sitting right next to me. Then there's one by the door. That's one of the hubs. And then there's one out in the living room. And then it goes further back to like the bathroom area. Anyway, I'm just sitting here. Everything's all quiet. I got no music going, nothing in here, because I was trying to figure out my website stuff. And all of a sudden, that one in the living room started talking. It just went off. No reason. And it does that a lot around here.
Yeah, it's not the only time. The other, what was it? Yesterday, or is it the other day? we were talking. We were on here before doing one of the shows talking. That damn hub went off.
Yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Yeah,
his hub. His
review. Yeah.
His hub went off and it wouldn't shut up.
Yeah. I believe that's just Bernie screwing with us.
I got 2 Alexas and I've had them go off for no reason as well.
Ours have gone off too.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, think about it. We're using equipment out there in the field that is electronic. You know, the voice recorders. Those things are sensitive enough. They pick up sounds that we don't even hear. You've got the spirit boxes, and that's what they do. It's all electronic, and it scans frequencies. Whenever you do have a lot of investigators claim that whenever they do have apparitions that do appear, a lot of times batteries in their devices will die.
Oh, we've had that happen.
And I've had that. I've had a lot of weird things happen to me, and some of it's my own damn fault because.
And then the SD cards getting corrupt. What about the SD cards going corrupt on us?
Yeah, we have brand new SD card formatted in a brand new camera, fresh battery in it, and we recorded for probably a good hour on this one little spot because his EMF meter was going crazy in an area where there was literally no power lines or anything.
We were on a mound. We were on
one of the burial mounds out by Lake Mills out there at Asylum Park.
Yeah.
And I'm recording.
And
it's saying it's recording.
Right, and to prove that it wasn't me like going like this or shaking or anything, we set that meter down right on one of the logs. You know, because they had logs for steps. Set it right there on the logs and kept recording because it kept going nuts. And got home, and all that footage was corrupt.
Yep. Couldn't pull anything off of there.
I've always wondered if there's some sort of an intelligence to these things where they know where your equipment is, they know where the cameras are pointing, they're going to do the thing behind the camera or while someone's standing in front of a camera or you catch something good and they're like,
they don't want you to get proof of their existence.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I've gotten some evidence. Joe and I both have it's basically the exact same camera. It's like identical. He bought his and I bought mine. And we were out at Eagle Cemetery. Eagle Cemetery's out near his house. And
it's in Juneau.
Right. And we were out there. I'm at one end of the cemetery. Him and his wife are at the other end of the cemetery. We're both recording. And when I reviewed the videos on my end, you can hear what sounds like a growl, and right about the same time on theirs, you can hear what sounds like a growl. And there's no way within, a distance to where they should have been able to hear it, because I'm at like one end. This cemetery is at least 100 yards deep.
Awesome.
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I got that as evidence, and then when I asked you about
the first time we were out there, don't forget about that first time. Yeah,
a jet flew over.
Yeah.
No clue why there's a passenger jet flying that low. There's no airports out there big enough to handle a passenger jet.
Oh, we've had similar stuff with trains. Like there's no train tracks around, but you hear a train going by. Just strange stuff.
Well, there might have been a train track in that area before.
Exactly.
Right.
And also, it's also kind of like whenever we were in Grafton, we were at the Grafton Mill. There's an old flour mill right next to the Milwaukee River. Some friends of ours got us in there. It was on a Halloween Eve. What year was that, Joe?
Oh God.
Is that in 20 or 21?
That was in 20.
20?
Yeah, that
So,
was right after the big COVID thing in 19.
No, yeah. So we're in there. I've got my camera going, and then I have it stationary on a tripod in the yoga studio on the 3rd floor. We have his camera walking around recording with it. My daughter was with us that day. And then I had voice record. My camera, his camera, and the voice recorder, I have on all 3 of them the exact same sound.
That's awesome.
So, and it all happened at the same time. And we were doing an EVP session in the yoga studio at the time.
Yeah,
I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was also the same night that we learned a valuable lesson.
Yeah, have a camera on us at all
body
times.
cameras. Started having body cameras on. We were walking out. There was 3 lights. They're all on the same circuit. They were 1, 2, 3 in the hallway, and they had the little metal protection over the wires that went in between them. Because it was an old building. I was walking out with a buddy to go have a cigarette outside, and the next thing you know, we get right about to the middle of that hallway, and only one light flickers on at us. And they should have all come on if they come on.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was around those light switches to turn them on or anything.
Yeah, and the only way you can turn them on,
and tapping everything, trying to get it to happen again, and we couldn't do it.
Yeah, the only way you turn them on is a single switch. You hit that switch once, and it turns all of them on. And all 3 of them turn on at the same time.
Yeah, how do you explain that?
Just the middle one came on and flickered at us.
Yep.
Those lights were off when we were walking through that hallway.
Well, Joe, myself, and my daughter were actually down in the one sitting area where we were doing an EVP down there. Then and she had his camera and stuff, and we left and went back upstairs and turned all the lights off down there. Well, the other group came down after, midway, we're passing each other. They come down, they come around the corner in that hallway, and they holler back at us, "Hey, did you guys leave the lights on down here?" Nope.
Well,
we turned them off.
Yeah, and earlier that night we were just sitting there in that same room.
Oh, and the water came on in the bathroom.
Doing an EVP session in that room, and the next thing you know, we heard water come on in the bathroom behind us.
And it wasn't the toilet.
Huh.
Yeah, the other group that was with us, the guy in the other group, he jumped up. I jumped up. Yeah, Chris House. He jumps up. I jump up, and the person that got us in there, he was there with us, and he came through. Him and Chris went in the door about the same time, and Chris's reaction was go straight over and check the toilet because it's one of the tank toilets, not the regular pipe. To check that to see if that may have, was running or something. I went straight to the sink, and he pulls the back of the toilet. Nothing. There's no ripples, no bubbles, no nothing. I go to the sink, and I'm looking. And I put my finger and rub around the
drain.
The drain. It's wet, and not one of us had used that bathroom that evening until after that incident. So the drain was wet, and it was cold water. You could feel that it was cold, like fresh cold out of the faucet. So
I don't know. How do you? Yeah, unless
that's the kind of stuff that we. Yeah,
can't explain it.
If you listen to the audio on our devices, you can hear that water running too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
there
cool.
You go.
Well, Joe, it's getting.
Oh yeah.
Get to that
time, huh?
Well, thank you guys so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. We enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for coming on. So what do you got planned coming up?
So we have another investigation planned the night of the April 5th. I think that's whatever that Friday is. We'll be investigating another private location in West Bend. So we have a trip coming up to Broadhead Manor in May, and then hopefully that trip to Tennessee in the summer. So, and then sprinkle in all the little stuff in between. So it's going to be busy the next few months.
Awesome. Now remember April 8th is whenever the eclipse happens.
Oh, maybe that'll be a spike.
That could be a little trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Fingers crossed.
It probably will. All right, ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Tell Brian we said thank you, and hopefully it wasn't too bad of a call that he got called out on.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, we appreciate you guys, and thanks for all your hard work. This was fun.
Yes, thank you.
No. Until next time, we'll be back next Friday with another guest. I'll announce that one Sunday. So next time, stay safe, and remember, anything's possible.